What's up, guys? Sub-Zero here, back for another VOD review. If you guys missed it, the Tacticians Cup number 2 just concluded, and there were a lot of really cool games that were played this weekend. Phoenix ended up winning the entire tournament, but we're not actually going to VOD review Phoenix today. We are going to VOD review Robivankenob, who had an interesting day. Started off in the 8th, almost completely brought it back, made final lobby, and was in the top 2 going into final lobby, but sadly had a 7th in his final game. So ends up with a solid 4th, tied for 3rd, but losing out on tie breaks. But one of the games he played today was a really, really fun game to watch. So I wanted to watch it, to VOD review it, and to talk about an augment that I don't think I've done a VOD review of yet this set. So yeah, wanted to check out Robivan's gameplay. Also, Robivan is just a player who I think he has a very unique playstyle. He's not afraid to play like weird stuff. Usually, I recall. I'm trying to remember what set it was. There was like a really weird reroll comp that existed, and he ended up just like playing it when he had a good spot for it and did really, really well in tournament. It was a reroll comp that like nobody was playing, but he was willing to play it. So we start off here with the Jinx plus the Twitch here. Jinx, not really, yeah, one of the favorite units of many people, so we are going to move that off the board here and just put Namzi on board instead of Jinx. I think this makes a lot of sense. It's a little bit hard to potentially play around Jinx. Our items here, nothing to write home about, really. As the meta's developed, it's a lot harder to play around stuff like AP unless you have perfect items. Shojin, like in a normal world, Shojin Spark would be fantastic slams here, but in current world, you don't really want to Shojin onto Rise. You don't even really want to Shojin onto Karma that much, so these are not, items that we're that excited to slam. First augment here, yeah, immediate reroll on school mascot there. We have Keepers and Fortune favors the bold. Spellblades, pretty bad options overall, honestly. Not very happy with these. Spellblades has been really, really nerfed. Fortune has also been nerfed pretty hard, so that it's just not really enough of a win out unless you get an insane amount of losses, which is just not possible at this level of play. We do, though, roll into Double Down here. This is an augment that we have talked about so much already, and we're going to talk about more here, where you take Double Down in spots like this, and you are just going to play really, really hard for Lost Streak here and hope to spike later. We're doing a quick scout around, and like theoretically, the spot could actually be Kalista, which is obviously like the comp that everybody has talked about this entire weekend. Is there's been so much Kalista, some lobbies, 3, 4, maybe even 5 or 6 people playing Kalista in them, and it's because the comp is really strong, can stabilize hard off of something like a Kalista one and a Rakan one, as long as you have solid items. And so yeah, it's kind of broken. And the upside also is that you can play actually like Giga Lost Streak into it, and then just stabilize really, really hard on 4-1, and then you're fine. This augment is the perfect Kalista augment here, and Robivan knows that. He's going to full open all of these rounds. There's only one person who's trying to int versus him, which is Phoenix, the person who actually ended up winning this tourney. Phoenix is playing the fairy augment, Royal Court or something like that essentially locks him into fairies. He's also doing a similar thing here where he really, really wants to Lost Streak, really wants to lose every single fight possible. Though there is actually an interesting kind of dichotomy here where Robivan has to full open here. Even if his stroke is broken, his streak is broken, he still gets to, if he loses, he still gets to keep the like lost streak that exists in Double Down, even though he's going to lose his lost streak if he ties with a full open into a full open, because nowadays if you full open into somebody else, and you both are full open, then one of you ends up, well, you both end up breaking your streak. It used to be in the past that it would be a 50-50 chance depending on who travels, which was terrible. However, the way the Double Down works, that's not actually going to break our streak, our Double Down streak. It's going to break our real streak, but our Double Down streak won't be broken. So we're incentivized here to full open. And Phoenix is actually kind of incentivized to not full open because he wants to hold on to this Lilia that he has. He knows he wants to play fairies this game. So we actually kind of have a winning proposition here where we have to full open versus Phoenix. Phoenix, I guess, could full open versus us by selling this Lilia, but then he ends up losing the Lilia. And Phoenix knows that he's always going to break his streak regardless. So it's actually kind of fine for him to play this Lilia because he'll actually get 1 gold for winning, which is better than nothing for breaking the streak. The only downside is he doesn't get to grief Robivan here, which, maybe in hindsight would have been the correct play to just grief Robivan, because then Robivan wouldn't have been able to keep this really, really nice loss streak here. In any case, The spot's fantastic now for Robivan because there was only one person who was looking to grief him, but didn't even really make sense for it's just the power of this double down really incentivizing you to full open. And Phoenix says, okay, you know what? It's not even worth it for me to full open into him because all it does is grief his game, but it griefs my game as well because I don't get to hold on to this Lilia anymore and I don't get the win. It's kind of a win-win, right? We get to keep our loss streak here, and then Phoenix gets 1 gold from winning and gets to hold on to the Lilia. Is the way that it works. But as you can see, really, really, really rich here for Robivan. He is level 4 with 70 gold here. And you also note that he's not pre-leveling here. It's kind of interesting. I would say, why is he doing this? But he actually went up into the chat box where my head is covering, so sorry, and typed Golden Quest 3-2 Prage, because man, if we got a Golden Quest this game, we would be, you know, like 100 gold by 3-2 or something like that. This would be the easiest Golden Quest of all time. He's actually a little bit afraid that he is going to lose this fight here, so he slams some items, and we just barely end up winning that. So, okay, not bad. But a lot of components here. If we were to want to play a game towards playing Callista, we have something like a Gwynsu, Last Whisper, Gargoyle, and then our items are a little bit awkward. You might have to build like an adaptive helm or something like that. You'd love to build like Redemption. You know, adaptive's not too bad. You could also end up not building Last Whisper. I know a lot of people don't like Last Whisper. It's just kind of like, what are we making out of this glove? Maybe a Hodge. But our next Augment will deal with that completely. Obviously, we're not going to make a slam until we see our 3-2 Augment, because that can impact so much of what we end up having the opportunity to play this game. So 3-2 Augment here. Radiant Refactor, Prismatic Ticket, Dark Alley Dealing. So if we had to just take one of these three, probably just be Radiant Refactor, and you go for simply a Radiant Gargoyle, Radiant Gwynsu. I don't actually know what the best Radiant item is in this comp. Final Ascension. Actually, wow. I'm kind of surprised he insert rerolls that. I guess he's looking at Dark Alley Dealings then. Huh. Maybe he's thinking of some kind of Prismatic Ticket idea. Wow, yeah. I mean, maybe his thought is that Prismatic Ticket is actually not that bad to play in this Callista line, and you just get infinite rolls on level 8. Maybe that's the idea. It's kind of an interesting idea. But we roll into the Augment that I wanted to talk about this video, which is What the Forge. What the Forge here has been buffed so hard. Now it gives you a item anvil when you take it. And of course, we have all these items that we've picked up, so we can already see what all of our What the Forge items are here and start building a game plan from this position. Our items are also quite good for a specific game plan. So we end up picking up a lot of solid stuff here. We pick up this Luden's, I forget what this thing's called, Forbidden Idol. I always mix up the name with the other one. Triforce, Gambler's Blade, Mittens, and we're looking for our last one here. We're gonna opt to take Eternal Winter as just a solid tank one, which I think makes sense. And he's actually gonna slam it onto the Ari here, just to get some HP onto all of our units and to try to kill a few units here, because we are still trying to lose streak with this Augment. But as you can see, we're going to completely remove this team planner and come up with a completely different game plan. He actually throws Zoe in there, which is surprising to me. I think he's still trying to figure out what his game plan is here. But I think the most obvious game plan actually, ooh, this is interesting. I don't actually know. I only saw this from someone else's POV, but I think his idea from this spot was actually maybe to play to play Rise from this spot. Interesting with the Ludens. We could actually do a quick stats check here for fun, and just look at this Ludens. If we go into Explorer and look at Ludens here, and then we go to items, you can see what units it does very, very well. And the statistics, yeah, don't really love it on Rise that much, but there is a unit that the statistics do really, really love it on, which is Varus. The idea being that, you know, he's just going to get some kills, get a lot of overkill. That's going to splash over to everyone, as well as the rest of his splash damage, and just cause this cascading amount of damage that will just destroy everybody. So I think actually it doesn't really make sense to play Rise from this Ludens. It makes a lot of sense to play Varus. We also have a lot of stuff that works really well with Varus. We have the, once again, it's called Forbidden Idol, I think. We have the Forbidden Idol that would go so well into like a Mordekaiser. We have the Eternal Winter that can also go onto Mordekaiser here. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. And yeah, the second we see a Varus on Carousel, I think Phoenix knows how strong this item can be on Varus, so he ends up picking it up. And now we have guaranteed Varus. Also late game, if we ever get like a Smolder, then we could put Mittens onto Smolder, though it's a little bit hard. But yeah, there's the Varus finally. We are going to move these items over to Varus and put this on frontline. I think at this point Phoenix is saying, or not Phoenix, but Robivan is saying, I'm this low, I should probably start playing a little bit more of a board here. I don't have to win these fights, but I'd at least like to kill some units. Sadly, we're fighting a Radiant Redemption Rakan here, though at least it's not 5 Fairy, so it's not that insanely tanky guy, but you know, it's still a little bit scary. But yeah, these boards, it's so hard to kill units just because the Rakan tanks up so much damage. So we're going to take a big loss here. Ideally, we take one more loss just for the loss streak here. We pick up Varus Pair here, which is fantastic for us. First one off Carousel was free, but the second one is so nice to get. And yeah, he's putting Smolder into planner here with the idea obviously of playing more towards Varus, though he still actually hasn't completely changed his team planner. But you can see so rich, right? Completely almost we're going to be pre-leveled to level 8 for 4-1, or I guess we're just going to actually level. The only downside is we keep fighting these really tanky boards. So 22 HP. Pretty low here for Mr. Robivan here, but yeah, he is actually just fully pre-leveled up here, holding on to a lot of this stuff, holding on to like the Zillion. If we end up playing some kind of preserver setup, we pick up a Nasus and a Tahm Kench here, which is fantastic here for potentially playing around Varus. And yeah, I think now he's sort of committing his board to Varus. There's the Tahm Kench 2, which is really nice for us, and some Shens, which we can fit onto the board as well. Kind of playing flexibly around what we hit. We can kind of figure it out. We do want to make the rest of our items here and see what we end up getting. There's Varus too as well, which is huge. But so Phoenix does something here which is actually quite interesting to me, because you could see this board. Also, the items we get are actually not that amazing. We get another Eternal Winter and a Spectral Cutlass, but you could actually see this board and think about pushing levels here. We have a Tahm Kench 2 and a Varus 2. And I think in the call, we were watching this on Kai's co-stream, and there were some people who called out like, okay, why is he actually rolling so deep in this situation? But obviously we're 22 HP. It's really scary spot. I still don't actually 100% know what the correct play is here. I think some people would say that's incorrect to roll deeper here, and that your board's actually strong enough on this stuff, and we can just push like a really aggressive level 9. But I think in Phoenix's mind, his board was still not strong enough here, especially on this current patch where there's going to be these Kalista players, there's going to be these Rakan players who are so strong right now that we cannot afford to not have an insanely strong board, especially with this amount of HP. We also need someone to hold on to some more of these AD type items. So we start picking up Olaf, so we can play the Olaf, even just synergyless here to put some of these items down. And so we are currently going to play this board right now. Throw this item onto the Tahm Kench, which isn't amazing, but you can live with it, I guess. And going to put the Eternal Winter onto Tahm Kench, and then the second one onto the Nasus here. But you can see, I mean, this fight is a big win. You could maybe make the argument, like seeing this fight, okay, maybe like we shouldn't have rolled here. Last Augment here, big grab bag is a fantastic pickup. Components are so good in this setup here. We're actually picking up some more Kallistas, which is interesting. Not holding on to the Rise anymore, but yeah, we actually have the opportunity to take a Kalista 2 here. It's a little hard. There is an idea of playing like Kalista, Hecarim, Akali as your multi-strikers. Obviously, we don't have a lot of those, but you know, it's something that you could play for and then move stuff like the Mittens over to Kalista. Robivan ends up not making the call to play around this Kalista here. He does actually make this item here and ends up just keeping, you know, the Olaf in for now, which, you know, I think makes a good amount of sense. It would also be nice to get something like Frost onto this board, but it's a little bit far away. You could obviously fit Diana in for Bastion. You'd have to duck out of Arcana. I guess the most simple way to do it would be like cut, play Diana plus another Frost unit, maybe like a Swain. I guess it would be like cut, Diana Swain would be the idea. But he's just going to fit the Hecarim onto the board for now. Yeah, do this, which I like a lot. Fit the 3 Arcana in, and he's currently Arcanaing Hecarim because he just doesn't have that many traits in. And so we're playing like a sort of standard Arcana Varus board, but you can see, right, we're fighting this Kalista board, and it's really scary. We're actually just barely going to lose this fight, which I think, you know, like, I think you can see this fight and say, okay, maybe Robivan was right to roll as deep as he did, because we're actually like losing those fights. And now we pick up the Olaf to a huge power spike. We have this Olaf 2-star on our board. It's a synergyless Olaf, by the way, but he's just a good unit to play on the board. We also pick up this Nasus too, which is fantastic here. This is a lot more frontline for our board. Yeah, I wonder if it is ever the Frost idea that I was talking about here. But I mean, obviously Arcana is such a good trait on this board. Just Arcanaing the Hecarim is so nice here for the AD. But yeah, look at this fight as well. It looks like a really, it's for so much of the fight, it's good. And then it turns really bad here. So 2 HP here for Robivan, and the spot looks horrifying. He takes the bow here on the Camille just to make sure that no one else is getting the bow Camille, and he doesn't really care about components here. It's a 5-cost unit. He doesn't really care about getting Smolder in either. He does really potentially want like a Rumble for Blaster, and yeah, he does end up picking this up. Makes this next item here, gets a Fishbones here, which he is going to move over to the Varus, which I think is perfect. The question is, where do the other items then go in this situation? Oh yeah, I didn't even see this, but he reforges here. He reforges the Gambler's Blade. This item is so weak late game. Gets Mana Zane, which is kind of hilarious, and throws the Mana Zane onto the TK. I actually like love this. The Mana Zane Tom Kent should just get him casting a bunch. He has Eternal Winter, so it's unlikely that he's just gonna get like one tapped early. So you know, you get one cast with the TK, you get that second cast from the Mana Zane. It actually does a bit of work, and I mean, this is a strong board that we're fighting that we actually end up beating here. And now we're up to 20 gold. Now our board's actually kind of strong. Now we can think about actually potentially pushing levels from this spot, though obviously we're 2 HP, so we kind of have to roll for a charm basically every round. We are going to tailor treasure chest here onto this this guy here, which is very, very nice. Make sure that it's on one of the weakest units so that it'll die quickly. And yeah, I mean, 2 HP, well, I mean, no problem. Like, who cares about being 2 HP? We fight the Ziggs reroll board. Well, it's really just a zap attack board that didn't hit. But I mean, look, let me go back and rewatch this fight again and just slow it down for you. This is the power of this Luden's Varus here. Look at this cast here. Boom, 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 boom. The entire backline just one tapped in a second because of the damage plus the Luden's proc. It's just it's actually such a cool synergy with Varus's ability plus this Luden's, especially because he's not like an AP unit, but it's just the way that Luden's works. It works really well onto Varus, so it's so cool to see. Now we're thinking about pushing levels, getting Xerath plus Briar in as being our max cap. He's also looking at potentially a Twitch for maybe actually getting Frost onto this board, and even Hunter is pretty good. So he has the idea of capping around Briar plus Xerath, which is the most obvious way to cap here. All right, we make one item, which ends up being a Death's Defiance here, which just ends up going onto this Nasus here. We roll once for charm, but we're not, you know, there's nothing left for us to roll for. So we just have to trust in our board being as strong as possible. I'd love this Olaf on our board, by the way, just the random Olaf just doing work with 0 traits in, but he is just using these items so well. We're teleporting to the backline every single fight with solid positioning, getting him on important targets. This is actually a horrifyingly scary fight here, but the Varus chewing through frontline. Also, this Nas is so tanky. These items also so just good onto the onto the Olaf. This is what you have to do when you play this What the Forge augment, is be flexible about the units that you want to play around. And now we can finally go 9. We can just get whatever we really want to get in onto this board, whatever we can get on this board. I guess random Morgana is going to be his idea. He's looking for something slightly better to play. And yeah, the Melio actually looks pretty good here. And now he can look at tiering the Melio to get a faster cast off, which is genius here. But yeah, he can play Melio on this board. It's Scholar Melio, a fantastic unit to cap around. So very, very nice play from Robivan to roll down and pick that up. And once again, the Luden's procs are so nice. We beat Replay. We're in 8th place a second ago, but now it's a top 5. We are climbing. Life insurance here, not good enough. Salvager, I mean, it's a free remover, but I don't think it does that much. So actually, sadly, we're gonna have to play down a charm this round, which feels really bad. But we also make the smart call here, move the Mana Zane over to Melio. So smart, especially because now we have 2 item Nasus, 2 item Tom Kench. This Melio is gonna farm really nice items for both the Nasus and the Tom Kench here, as long as he gets that first cast. And then these extra casts are just gonna go onto the shitters on our board. But I mean, it's still fine. We win another fight, locked into a top 4, 2 HP. Remember, a few rounds ago we were 2 HP, looking like we might go 8th, but the really deep roll down and then the push 9 really aggressively have been so big here. We can just take a highest cost here if we don't care about any of these units. We end up picking up Katarina here. I'm not really sure why to deny Katarina, I guess. There's the Briar here, who is a fantastic in here. We can put the Spectral Cutlass. Sadly, we cannot sadly we cannot farm for her, but you know, it's all good. We end up getting the Xerath in as well here, another really nice in. The only downside is we lost Scholar for Emilio here, and he actually Arcana's the Xerath here, which is interesting. It's a bit early. Our board is so much ability damage that I could kind of see it. I would think it would still be something like the Hecarim just for the AD onto Varus here, but okay. The idea that it's Xerath now, maybe. I mean, 9% true damage. I mean, it's not bad, especially on this board where we have no armor or MR shred. So it's kind of nice to have that true damage to get through stuff. Boom, there's Melio 2 on 9, which is huge. We do kind of have to pick up this Aftershock here. And we're really just chilling. I mean, not really chilling because we're 2 HP, but just hoping that we can pick up a Briar 2 on this eventually. But yeah, I mean, the Spectral Cutlass, the second one, not even bad, because now Briar teleports in a backline, always gets a great ult off, and then, Precedent's so clumped for that Varus ult. It is so gross here. I mean, the double Spectral Cutlass is actually doing an insane amount of work, because it almost forces people to clump up so that our Olaf can't just pick people off. But then if they do clump up, then they're getting ulted by the Varus. So it's actually really insane here. The Hecarim here, yeah, is just kind of a random +1 unit. I mean, I think the future for this board would probably be getting out of this Olaf eventually, getting back into the Ari, and then just moving items over to a Briar 2 if we can get one. Obviously, we're going to get another item here. Hopefully, it's a tank item for one of our tanks. Tremor is a fantastic pickup here. We get Silvermere Dawn, which, is not nothing. It's immunity CC, and so he decides to throw it onto the Nasus here just to make him a little bit more steady in the front line, which I like. And then obviously we're gonna take Tremors here, roll a little bit. This is actually really, really scary, but we are fighting Degree, who's level 8. We also have the Varus in the middle, which is so good against this Ziggs, means we're not gonna get sniped. We snipe out a lot of this board, and then Xerath finishes the rest off. Really close fight versus this Blitzcrank, but the Xerath finishes it off, and now top 2. We're just rolling for good charms here. Barrier is fine, so we are going to pick that up, and we're just rolling, still rolling to try to find this Briar 2. We finally find Briar 2 here. We can move Olaf items if we want here, but actually, I thought this was interesting. He opts to move items off of Nasus here because these items aren't doing much on Nasus. They're actually still doing okay work onto Olaf. So yeah, he leaves these items on Olaf. Briar gets a huge ult off here, and the Varus gets a big ult off onto Prestivant, and just look at that, is a first place. 2 HP he went down to. He was 8th place, straight to first place with the power of What the Forge and just playing a strong board around the items that we hit, the units that we hit. I just thought this was a really, really fun game to show how to play around What the Forge. You have to play flexibly. You can't just lock into like one comp in your mind. You have to find units that can hold these AD dimes. I love the Olaf, the 0 synergy Olaf. I don't think Olaf ever had a trade in this game. We just played him the entire game, Olaf for Olaf, and he did so well. But then we played around 5 costs really, really skillfully, played around charms really, really skillfully, and it's a top 1. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my Twitch and all my links down below. Thank you guys again for watching.